Hi, are you among the people who think that women are solely to be blamed for infertility or late childbirth in marriages? Well, Tia Coffee is out on the streets and we're here to debunk that theory. My name is Adi Oyeyipo and I am here at the Clearview Hospital facility in Lagos, and we're going to be looking at the nitty-gritties of male infertility, male factor infertility. Did you know that research has it that males are responsible for a third of infertility cases, just as women are responsible for a third of infertility cases? We're in Lagos at Clearview Hospital here to speak to some medical professionals to gain more insight into male factor infertility. You definitely do not want to miss this. Come on. As a result of the sensitive nature of male factor infertility, it became very important to us to discuss with professionals within the field of fertility and sexual reproduction discourse. Dr. Kunle Ajayi, a seasoned obstetrician and gynecologist, helped us to understand male factor infertility a lot better.
I've been looking forward to this conversation because, male infertility in Nigeria is a conversation that is not widely prevalent. So what is infertility? What is male infertility? What are the facts and figures around this particular issue?
Okay, well, infertility is simply defined as the inability of a couple to conceive within 1 year of, say, sexual intercourse, or of living together and performing and having sexual intercourse. Okay. And like you've sort of said, there's male factor, there's a female factor, and then there's a mixed factor where we have both male and female contributing to the infertility. And like you said earlier also, a third of all causes of infertility is caused by men, or male, that is male factor. A third is caused by the female factor. And the mixed ones are also by a third. So men and women more or less contribute equally to the burden of infertility in the world. Okay, so I mean, we live in a country or in a society where people believe that it's always the women that is the problem, but it's not true. Most studies that have been carried out here in Nigeria have shown that men and women contribute equally to the burden of infertility.
Do you think that is maybe down to the patriarchal?
Definitely, definitely. And men can never do wrong. Well, male factor infertility basically, can be divided into things that affect the formation of the sperm, things that affect the concentration, and then, of course, transportation. So it has to be made somewhere, and it has to be of a good enough quality, and then it has to be propelled from that point through some tubes to where it is dropped, and then travels to the female pelvis and does what it's supposed to do. So if there's anything along the way that prevents that fine interplay of physiological things happening, then male factor infertility will come into play. So if, for example, you are talking about formation of sperm, it might be a problem with the testis, but it might even also be that the man has erectile dysfunction. He can, not that there is no sperm there, but he can't even ejaculate and produce the sperm. So that might be a problem.
So in Nigeria, we have a kind of lifestyle, with kind of food we eat and the and so, how can, the average masculine lifestyle in Nigeria affect, a man's life?
It's crazy, to a large extent, the way we consume alcohol in Nigeria, and maybe in Africa generally, it leaves a lot to be desired. You see, because every day you go out in the morning and you drive by the road, so you see everybody with a small sachet or something alcoholic, and if it does that, it also probably smokes. So smoking, to a larger extent, affects sperm quality. But alcohol too, if taken excessively, could also affect sperm production.
I've always seen that around how smokers are able to die young, and also smokers are probably not going to have children. Well, what is the science behind smoking?
Well, in layman's terms, what smoking just does is that it inhibits motility. And like I said, the number of sperms that are moving in the ejaculate, was what you bring out, should be at least 40 to 50%. Right. So if it is less than that, even if you ejaculate 1 million or 100 million sperms, and you have very, very low volume moving, nothing will happen.
So how can fertility be diagnosed? How can a man come into a hospital, and what procedure would he have to go through?
It's actually in fact for men it's actually very easy compared to women. Women would have to they'll have to come for have blood drawn. They will need to have, say, HSG, where you inject something into the womb to see whether it's open, or whether the tubes are open or not. But for men, all you have to do is just come and produce your sperm. And the production can be either by masturbation or even by sexual intercourse. But we usually prefer masturbation because you tend to spill it less than if you have it by. But masturbation, you get the right volume, and every other thing that you need to check. Yeah. So it's actually very easy, and of course it's painless. Man just comes, drops the sperm, and if you're in a lab where everything works, result can be ready within 30 minutes.
I find that's interesting because before the cameras came on, I was telling you I saw research that showed that it actually takes 2 months for a man to get a full diagnosis result.
No, so what you're probably saying is where we don't use one sample to make the diagnosis of male infertility, because it takes about 90 days for sperm to be produced. So if I take a sample of sperm now, it means it was probably produced 90 days ago. So what was happening to you 90 days ago might affect that sperm quality today. So things like, so maybe you had malaria, maybe you were on medications, any of those things could have affected your results. So if I see a result that is abnormal, I wouldn't base my diagnosis on that. I will ask the man to come back in about 6 weeks so that we can check again to be sure that really this sperm count is low. Yeah, and then we see happening a lot where you get one sample that is good and then you have one that is very, very bad. Then that means you need to get a tiebreaker, maybe a third one, maybe from another lab, just to be sure that really this is what's happening. But having to wait 8 weeks to analyze just one sperm sample is wrong.
So talking about the pH level, I know for the pH level of women, there's a lot of information about women's bodies and the pH, but not really about men.
So you can imagine normally the vaginal environment is acidic. Right. Sperm is actually alkaline. Right. And when they come together, they tend to neutralize now. So that's the way. You can't have acid and acid coming together. So that's the way to think about it. I don't want to start quoting figures now, but you get what I mean. Yeah. I mean, so that's the way it's been designed. Yeah.
So so are there particular meals or fruits or drinks a man can take that can alter his pH level, and what are the things like men should probably stay away from?
So I mean, as fertility experts and practitioners, we usually advise our patients to take antioxidants, and you see that in a lot of all the fruits we eat, vitamin C, vitamin E, so any of the fruits that you eat, oranges, pineapples, watermelon, anything that contains any of those things will help to reduce oxidative stress within the testicular environment, and that might help to improve the parameters. Yeah, and of course, I wouldn't advise anybody to smoke. I wouldn't advise you to take marijuana. There's a lot of things going on now where people say, marijuana is healthy. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it has its benefits.
All right, so we've defined a male infertility. We've looked at some of the causes, the risk factors, the medical conditions that can actually cause male infertility. Now I want us to go into solutions and treatments because I think that is, apart from bringing awareness to male infertility, we want our viewers abroad to be able to know that these things are not permanent and they can be fixed. So what are some of the solutions to male factor infertility?
So we mentioned some where it's very mild, very mild male factor infertility. Maybe just modifying your diets, stopping bad habits, no smoking, no alcohol, taking antioxidants and things like that might help to improve the sperm parameters. And by so doing, they are able to achieve pregnancy, But in a situation where there is a blockage, you might need to refer to a urologist to see whether they can help, do something to clear the blockage. If that is not possible, the blockage is still there. One can actually go straight to the testis to retrieve sperm, something called testicular sperm aspiration, and then you just take that, and you can use that to sort of fertilize the egg, And if it is a testicular issue where the man is not producing at all, then we can consider using a donor. Yeah, because he's not producing sperm, there's nothing you can do about that. Because some people, no matter what you do, the testis will not produce anything. Maybe because of, like I said, exposure to radiation or chemotherapy or even disease. So there's no drug you can use to jumpstart the testis. So we offer donor sperms, and even using the donors are anonymous. You don't have to know them, they don't have to know you. And as long as the wife is fine and there are no other issues,
I would imagine that this is probably not very a trend in Nigeria.
Because also that particular type of male infertility is not that common.
Okay.
The one where the testis does not work at all, but we do see them. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but they are not as many as the people that have low sperm count.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking with Dr. Kunle Ajayi helped us to answer many questions surrounding male factor infertility, such as the nature, diagnosis, and even down to some of the attitude within Nigeria towards male factor infertility. This attitude became more interesting to me, so I sat with Dr. Adeyayi to gain more insights from his first-hand experience on the attitude in Nigeria towards male factor infertility.
Thank you for joining us for this very important conversation.
Thank you.
Dr. Adeyayi. So you have a lot of first-hand experience dealing with men, women, and couples that are dealing with infertility. What is that like?
Trust me, it's been life-changing for me, you understand, because Africans really don't understand what it means to be infertile and how to actually share the responsibility of infertility. So you get situations whereby the woman takes all the responsibility for it, which is not fair. You understand? And then these women come to you and tell you about how their homes are at the verge of breaking down because they cannot have a baby, or in most cases, the husband has a baby somewhere else and not in the house. Trust me, it gives you this sense of urgency and sense of support that you are obliged to help these people. Because trust me, most of the time they are not even responsible for why they don't have babies. You understand what I'm saying? And there's poor understanding, there's poor awareness, there's traditional bias on one side, there's pressure from family, there's pressure from everywhere. You understand what I'm saying? And all they need is actually a solution.
So I like the fact that you mentioned all these factors with the traditional bias and society and whatnot. Today we're actually looking into male infertility. Infertility has to do with men, with the masculine gender.
But what is the attitude? You just spotted a case study of women coming to you, saying that their homes are about to break down. What is the attitude to men towards infertility?
The truth is, the attitude is very poor. Understand? And without insight of the problem and how it contributes to the problem, you might not really be ready to fix it because you actually believe this problem is not from the man most of the time. And statistically, we know that the male folks contribute to infertility as much as the female folks contribute to it. And like I said, traditional bias, nobody thinks it's the fault of the man that they don't have a baby in their family. So all the pressure is on the lady. And like I said, the male folk contributes as much as the female folks to this. And I believe my way out of this is just awareness. And let the male folks know that once you're in situations like this, you just have to come with your wife and then find the real root of the problem and then attack the cause, the main cause of this infertility in the home.
Yeah. So, I like that you mentioned awareness, and I feel like awareness would probably mean that more men need to be educated on infertility. So what is the role of, both public hospitals and private, hospitals and medical practitioners? What role can they play in this awareness?
Talking about the public hospital facilities, I believe they have a major role to play because that's where majority of citizens of the country are accessible to. When I mean financially, you have NHIS covered there, the bills are not so exorbitant, so you have a lot of people pulling into the public facilities. But the truth is, it's very, very difficult, and I stand to be corrected that there are federal facilities that take these male infertility issues serious enough. So I'll explain myself. I'm like, if we want to make this awareness a big deal and let the male know that they contribute equally to this infertility situation, we actually need to start from the public facilities. When I mean public hospitals, your primary healthcare centers, to your general hospitals, to your teaching hospitals and all of that. I believe they have a more natural access to these male folks, and letting them understand that not having a baby is not the end of the world, and that the male folk actually contribute as much as the female folk to infertility globally. So capacity for awareness from the federal facilities are very, very important, and trust me, is lacking. Because where I trained, the IVF center where I trained is shut down, it's not operational. And then coming from there into the private practice where it's a big deal. And everyone wants a baby, every family wants a baby, and they're not having the baby, and there's nothing that's happening at primary healthcare center level of the management, and majority of the help you get actually from the private facilities. And there's little to awareness private facilities can actually let the public know. So like I said, majority of this awareness still lays on the table of federal parastatals, because like they have better access, they have more pool of men that actually come to their clinics for situations like this, and I think they have a better role to play.
It is now time for us to have a look at some of the technology in obstetrics and gynecology. Dr. Adeyeye took me through the lab and showed me how some of these equipments work. Okay, so I'm guessing all of this is because of the sensitivity of... So yeah, this is the theater. Yeah. What actually happens here?
This is where we have our patients under anesthesia and then recover our eggs.
Okay.
Once that is done, of course, from about 10 to 14 days of stimulation and trigger, we collect our eggs and we hand it over to the embryologist to work with in the flow hood.
All right.
So what basically happens here is sorting of the eggs.
Yeah.
So the egg comes with a lot of fluid, and you just have to sort out what is egg and what is not egg, and discard whatever we don't need.
All right.
So we sort out the eggs we recovered from the woman here, And then when that is sorted, we either do the conventional IVF, put the egg and the sperms in the same dish to naturally fertilize, or we go to the ICSI machine, that's the intracytoplasmic sperm insertion machine. So what it does is to insert the feed sperm directly into the egg to facilitate fertilization. And then once that is done, so you do that in patients with low sperm counts, or patients with funny sperm cells, low sperm counts, funny sperm cells. Just that helps you handpick the best of sperm cells and to inject into the eggs, just facilitate the fertilization. Once that is done, these are the incubators. We put them in incubators to fertilize for like 5 days before transfer back into the woman.
Incubator like a sort of like a fridge sort of thing, isn't it?
Exactly,
Okay.
more like that. There's a fixed temperature, 37 degrees that it has to, yeah.
That's really warm, isn't it?
Normal body temperature.
Yeah, normal body temperature.
So the idea is just to mimic normal body physiology.
Okay.
Normal body physiology. We, after 5 days of the sperm and egg fertilizing there, we have what we call the embryo, which we come back to transfer into the woman to get her, to implant these embryos. So implantation of embryos is what reflects on your pregnancy test kit as a positive PT.
Okay, all right. So from the IVF, from the incubator, you come back into the theater
Exactly.
for the insertion.
Exactly.
And then, okay.
And over there we have the centrifuge. Centrifuge, you can use that for a lot of things, like for your sperm preparation. You want to use centrifuge to sediment the good cells to the base of the bottle, and then use that to sort whatever it is you're doing. And then the screen there is just a screen for the ICSI machine, intracytoplasmic sperm insertion machine. Exactly. So whatever you're viewing under the microscope, exactly, shows off in the main frame there.
Okay.
So basically,
Amazing.
After an insightful discussion with Dr. Kunle Ajayi and Dr. Adeyeye, we asked these professionals to encourage those who may be going through infertility, and here is what they had to say.
Male infertility is not the end of the world, and a lot of the causes of male infertility are actually treatable, if attended to on time. So I'll advise our couples, to not hesitate to come in as early as they can, to get tested. Because the truth is that the younger you are, the more likely you'll be to get pregnant. So if you wait for 5, 10, 15 years to present, the things might have really, really gone out of hand. So if after a year of trying, there is no pregnancy, and I'll advise that you come in quickly to get tested, and I can assure you that there are solutions tailored to every cause of infertility.
we contribute as much as the female folks contribute to infertility cases. So as a man, the least you can do is just keep an open mind and look for the cause. And regardless of what causes you find, there are remedies to these causes. So the male folks out there, keep an open mind. You could be the cause of this infertility situation in your family, and your wife has to carry the burden of this responsibility. So I believe marriage is a union of support and understanding. So let's come together as a family, wife and husband, and then seek the appropriate measures to actually screen for the cause of your infertility.
It has been a very insightful and informative day in Clearview Hospital, a hospital designed and designated specifically to help people dealing with infertility, dealing with fertility issues. I have learned a lot. We have spoken and gone into the depths, the nitty-gritties of male infertility. I have learned a lot as a man, and to the point where I know that there's probably some lifestyle changes that I need to be able to make to ensure that I am fertile. It has been a very exciting day in this facility today. You're watching Tea or Coffee, and this is our day where you